Welcome to Corpse Club, the official podcast of DailyDead.com. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jonathan James, and I am joined today by Tamika Jones, Bryan Christopher, Derek Anderson, and Scott Drebit. Today, you may be listening to us, it might be a Friday if you're listening to us on the first day the episode came out, but it's actually St. Patrick's Day when we're recording. It's a Wednesday. Somebody, I don't know who, it may have been the person talking right now, was like, hey, let's record on a Wednesday, not realizing it was St. Patrick's Day. And then I was like, hey, do you want to move it? And everyone's like, no, we're gonna do it today. And so this is going to make for a very interesting episode because some of us are a drink in. Some people...
Derek's hammered.
Like Derek, maybe multiple drinks in. So we're gonna talk about a lot today, like we usually do. We have multiple topics. We'll spin into other topics that we didn't prepare for. But we're gonna start with Leprechaun. We're gonna talk about Leprechaun and some of its sequels. Some of us have watched it for the first time, so we're gonna talk about that.
No, wait, come back. No, wait, stop. Come back. Don't go. Be fun.
Well, I'm sure we're going
to have a very original angle on the Leprechaun series that no one has talked about before.
Oh, I'm sure we will. And then I was looking at some of the other things we're talking about, and the next one, I'm like, we're going to have so many people for this one. We're going to talk about Event Horizon on Blu-ray.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, you guys ambushed me.
I liked it. We got
I
you,
liked it
Scott.
the first time when it was called Hellraiser Bloodline.
I have to wash my hair in the second half.
Nope. We got you,
guys
Scott.
know.
We got you to discuss some Event Horizon. And we got Are You Afraid of the Dark? We're going to talk a little bit about that and many, many, many more topics. So,
Or none of them.
or none of them. Sometimes it does happen. I think there was one of these, kind of like mashup episodes where I mentioned a topic and then we never talked about it. But this time we'll talk about them all. So we're going to start with Leprechaun. Because Tamika, thanks for mentioning that this was actually St. Patrick's Day. You can tell how many times I celebrate it. Although my wife is Irish, it's just St. Patrick's Day is not a huge event for our family. So I don't know. I know it's in March. I just don't always plan for it. And we're all in lockdown. So what I would recommend is if, our Corpse Club listeners, if you're listening to us now, you can open up a beer now. We're all in lockdown. It doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter what day it is. And you can kind of be at the same place that we're at right now. But
that's right. Go green.
Yeah,
go green.
It's always St. Patrick's Day somewhere.
Exactly.
Wait, I think I did it wrong.
Something like that. I'll go with that. But yeah, so, Tamika's like, let's talk about the Leprechaun franchise. And I will say for myself, I was like, well, I don't have much to talk about because I haven't seen any of the Leprechaun movies all the way through. And, I know the Leprechaun movies are near and dear. I know, right? They're near and dear to people's hearts. And I get that. But like, for me, it was something where it was always on Sci-Fi. I've seen like bits and pieces. I mean, I know like when they're in space versus when they're not. So like, I know what movies I've seen, but I've never like sat and just like seen them all the way through. I didn't make it through all of the movies because I had limited, notice, but I did see the first one all the way through. So I'll talk about that, but it's not about me here. It's about everybody else. But first of all, has anybody else not seen the Leprechaun movies until the last few days? Derek, was the first time watch or have you not seen any of them?
I still have not seen any of them all the way through.
I knew it. I thought I would catch you on it. So we have someone who has not seen any of them, but I still want to hear what you have to say about these movies.
Because Derek hates Irish people.
Derek Anderson? Yes.
Yes.
I'm here to talk about Ghoulies. Oh, wait, this isn't the Ghoulies episode. Crap. I got to get my film franchises straight here.
Yeah, but I think everybody else has. So, so you're not going to hear as much from Derek and I, or maybe you'll hear more from Derek. But Tamika,
it's never stopped him before.
It hasn't. But Tamika, I'm going to turn it over to you because you said that this is what you wanted to talk about. So what I want to hear a little bit about is like what was your first introduction? When did you first see the Leprechaun movies? What do you like about them? What's your favorite?
So I definitely saw the first Leprechaun movie. I'm sure of that now. I'm pretty sure I have the the order correct. So it was the first Leprechaun film, then the In the Hood, because there's two In the Hoods. So the first In the Hood, because my cousin thought that it was the funniest movie she had ever seen. So I did not agree with that. I think that might be my least favorite one. Or no, maybe it's when he goes back to the Hood. But yeah, so the first Leprechaun, the first time going to the Hood, then 2, 3, then In Space, which is, this might be blasphemous, but I think that's my favorite one. And then, I don't think I've seen past the Hood 2. No, I did see Leprechaun Returns. Actually, that might be my favorite. Oh, but it's not good, bad. I always enjoy good, bad things. I find that to be a more enjoyable watch, especially with other people. But I definitely caught the first Leprechaun. I'm pretty sure now it was TBS because it was edited. And I was confused because TBS and TNT and channels like that, when there's like when you swear, they like dub it with something like really weird that doesn't really match at all with what was said or like in context even. Like it's like, wait, what? What does that mean? So I'm pretty sure it was because I was really confused. I was in high school and so I'm pretty sure it was like 10th, like 11th grade. It was somewhere around there because I didn't have to sneak around as much and like watch horror movies or whatever because I was, getting older. So my mom wasn't as strict about stuff. So I know it was around then. But yeah, these movies, I hope they're not like in any way offensive to anyone. I think they are good, harmless, fun. I think there's really only like 2 solidly good ones, though. In Space. I'm sorry, I just breathed into the mic because now I'm starting to sweat. No, I take that back. There's 3
business.
solidly
this is because you can never change your mind after this.
Yeah.
It's like, are we?
It.
Okay.
This is actually turning into an impromptu choose between 2 movies, except for the Leprechaun franchise. You only get to choose 2. The rest of them.
The rest of them are gone. They never existed.
That's it. The
What
rest
kind of
are
a
wiped
monster
out.
makes us play this game?
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I know. Okay. In Space. Leprechaun 4 In Space.
Oh.
And God, it's got to be the first. Even though I know the first one is so not, in my opinion, good, but it was my first experience, and I was like, "What is this?"
No, I'm just bugging you, but it's very much like a Spider moment in Goodfellas, when Spider speaks up for himself, and Robert De Niro goes, "Ho ho ho! Good for you, Spider. Good for you for sticking up for yourself." That's what having an opinion, and then he ends up dead. That's what having an opinion about a Leprechaun 4 In Space being a favorite.
Wait, I'm thrown
Go
off.
on.
Did Robert De Niro just join the podcast? Because I could have sworn that was his voice.
I wasn't even going for Robert De Niro,
Yeah,
I know it's uncanny.
I thought you were actually doing, but no, he's not. He's not in Goodfellas. Why
That
did I go
doesn't matter.
there?
Who do you think I was? Please tell me who you think I was doing.
I don't. Never mind. Not even saying no.
Who? I want to know.
It sounds like she
Because-
thought it was Pacino.
I cannot disrespect Goodfellas that way.
No. Who? Please tell me who. Please.
No.
I'm begging.
We did a hard left.
It was a great horror podcast we had here once.
I just want to know.
A hard left.
I just want to know who you thought it was I sound like.
Chaz Palminteri. Okay, I know. I'm catching so many L's. I like Leprechaun 4. Space,
Thank you.
Chaz Palminteri.
Thank you. I've been doing Chaz Palminteri for years, and no one has caught on that that's who I was doing. Thank you.
Wait, are you trying to make me feel better?
Yeah, no, I love Chaz Palminteri,
Good for you,
but that never entered my mind at all.
How
This
weird.
is gone.
But I love it. I'm going to keep it. That's my Chaz Palminteri.
All right, settled. Okay. Okay. So
So
should I
your
answer all three questions?
yeah, I think you're good. But so your final is Leprechaun in Space, and then the original because it was your first experience.
Yeah, for sure. And Into Hood, listen, I have no excuses. I have nothing to say about those two. I don't
Listen,
know.
we're talking about Leprechaun. None of us have any excuses. Who cares?
I don't know.
There's no
yeah.
shame here. This is horror.
Yeah,
That's true.
everybody's welcome to their opinion.
Yeah.
So Brian, did you end up seeing, because you hadn't seen the first one, right? Did you end up seeing it this week?
I watched it last night. Yeah.
Okay, tell us about it.
So yeah, I have a weird. For some reason, I saw 2 and 3, and then never saw 1 as a kid. Actually, it's not for some reason. It's just kind of an embarrassing reason as to why I would go to 2 first. One of my friends, I guess I probably would have been around, I don't know, 10 or 11, informed me that there was a scene in part 2 where he fools some guy into thinking that these big spinning fans are a pair of women's breasts. And so cut to me sprinting into the video store to find Leprechaun 2 just so I can see this scene. And yeah, it was, the movie around it was fine. And part 3 was entertaining enough. Just never really felt that strong of an urge to see the first one or anything beyond 3. But I figured, if we're going to talk Leprechaun, I should at least see the first one. So watched it last night. It's pretty dumb. I mean, I don't think anyone is going to try and argue against that. Yeah, I know everyone's minds are blown. But it's that fun early 90s. We're going to kind of try and kick off a franchise. Was this ever a theatrical release, or was this direct to video?
I saw this in the theater.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Scott.
it got
And
one.
listen, the original advertising, and I swear to God they changed it. Okay, the newspaper advertising said it not your luck has just ran out as it is now. It said, I swear to God, in the newspaper, the luck of the Irish has run out. And I remember saying to myself and my roommate, well, I obviously need to go see this immediately. Yeah, no, it was I saw it in the theater. Yeah.
Yeah, Trimark did this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That makes me very happy.
And I mean,
A,
this
that it
kind
was
of-
a theatrical release, and B, that Scott saw it in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of fits in with other Trimark movies. I mean, they released like Warlock and movies
It's very
like that.
Trimarky.
Yeah.
It's very Trimarky, yeah. Which I love, which I absolutely love. So you ended up in of the ones that you've seen now so far, where do you think it sits?
That's hard to say because to be perfectly frank, the only thing I remember about both 2 and 3 is the scene with the boobs and the fan. So I can't really tell you much else about the other 2.
That's 2. Yeah, that's number 2. That's
That is
immediately
2,
what
yeah.
comes to my mind too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I would say what the first one has going for it is, first of all, I love the glee and just the kind of full force performance that Warwick Davis is giving. Like, he is just clearly having the time of his life doing this.
Yeah.
Or if not, he's really good at acting like he is. But it just, everything about that, he just seems to be having a very good time. And the other thing that I love about this is any movie where I get to see Mark Holton, a.k.a. Chubby from Teen Wolf, is a movie that I will probably be interested in. So, also Francis from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So, yeah, and he's making some capital D decisions in terms of kind of what he's going to do with that performance. And we also have, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the male lead, I forget his name, but he's one of the people from Summer School, is he not?
Sure is, yeah.
So yeah, there's a neat little grab bag of like people from that are kind of from just kind of the rotation before in like the mid to late 80s, and the you got your Jennifer Aniston, who's just kind of on her way up. So plus I gotta say I like the kid. It's always a gamble when you have a kid, because especially if they're going to be like the precocious kid, that can turn annoying real fast. But I actually liked him, and I like his final little send-off line before he shoots the slingshots the four-leaf clover into his mouth. So yeah, I like what everybody's doing in it, but it's also, at the end of the day, it's a movie about a killer leprechaun.
But isn't it? It's like it plays like a Disney movie.
Go on.
Gone awry. Because just what you described there, the whole shooting the clover with the slingshot into his mouth by a little kid. Totally plays like a Disney, like a Goosebumps or something like that. That's been like, just been jacked up a bit.
That's actually a really good point, because actually I think my favorite moment in the movie is one that's a very Disney moment. It's where they're trying to let Jennifer Aniston's character kind of get away. So they distract him by throwing a bunch of shoes in the backyard because he's compelled to shine them.
Oh, that's my favorite moment too, because I was not familiar with leprechaun mythology, and I still don't know. I don't know if that one is
if it's actual mythology or if they just made that up,
or if it's fake mythology.
No, I think that's real mythology.
Is that a real one?
I think it's a real
brilliant.
One. It's like tying knots for vampires.
Explain. I
There's,
don't know that one.
Oh, there's like they would bury a vampire and like cover it and they would like have a bunch of knots and they'd throw it in the coffin, because it was believed back in the day that vampires had to like untie those knots before they got out of the grave, and that would give you enough time to kind of like wake up and be like, oh, there's a vampire like trying to get out of its grave, and you could kill it. So yeah, they at least back in the day they didn't like knots.
So what if they're an Eagle Scout vampire?
I mean, the thing is, it was a rope with a lot of knots. So even, you have to know if they're an Eagle Scout, and then you just have to have enough knots to even,
But it's just to slow them down. So it's essentially you're tying someone's shoelaces while they're sleeping.
Because now I'm picturing like
what you're doing.
This poor vampire getting staked while he's trying to like undo all these knots.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what the shoe thing is, right? I mean, if you can at least buy yourself a little time, like. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
What if they screwed it up and the vampire wakes up and they got it backwards and there's all his coffin is filled with shoes? He's like, what the?
Yeah, but there's knots in the shoes, so they're doubly protected.
Hey, yeah, at least if the laces are tied, he's at least got to get through those, or she.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Damn it, they're all Velcro.
Okay, so if I was picking two for my Leprechaun library, I would probably go with the original one. It's got some fun performances. It's fast paced. And then I would pick the latest one, Leprechaun Returns, that one of the Astron 6 guys did, because I think it's a really well-made movie with great effects. And so if I had to pick two, those are the ones that I think I would go with.
You've mentioned the new one multiple times. I do need to see that.
Yeah, I was going to say, is Leprechaun Returns to this series like what Curse of Chucky is to the Child's Play series?
Oh, I would say so for sure. I would even say, as a less serious comparison, because you can't do the series side by side, but Halloween, in the sense that forget about everything that's kind of gone in between, because this is a direct sequel to the original one.
Oh, this is Leprechaun H2O.
Well, yeah. Well, guess who comes back? Your boy.
Oh, it's
or what's his name?
Ozzy. Mark Holton.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Well, now I might have to go give this a look.
Yeah, that was a good way to do it. Yeah, I just saw the first one for the first time today. And I mean, again, I've seen it in slices. I've seen it over the years, but never all the way through, or at least not in my adult life. But yeah, I think you made a good point about how this was, and I did read up a little bit on it, about how this was originally felt like it was a kid's movie. And it was, I guess, going to be a lighter movie, and they did reshoot to add gore and whatnot, because it kind of feels like Critters in tone, especially given that there's not a super high body count of your main characters. Mm-hmm. And so, that surprised me, because I did expect it to kind of, just knowing the rating and knowing how many sequels there are, I'm like, well, it'll probably follow a standard slasher route. And I just kind of expected Jennifer Aniston to survive at the end, especially when the Leprechaun's chasing her at the hospital. And and that's not what happened, obviously. So, I mean, I had a lot of fun with it. It's, I mean, it's not the greatest thing in the world. It's kind of, what I was expecting, except for, like I said, some of those tonal things. I thought the effects were really good, specifically the, when he's melting at the end. I thought was really well done. So yeah, it was exactly what I needed today. So,
and to all of our listeners, if you want some great big laughs as well, our brother in arms, Patrick Bromley, over on his site, F This Movie, anytime he does a Leprechaun podcast, you need to listen to it. Well, you need to listen to all the episodes, but especially funny for me are the Leprechaun ones where he takes on the persona of Mark Jones, the director. Anyway, those who've heard it know it and love it. So do yourselves a favor and check that out.
Noted.
Yeah, and Heather did a really cool Practically Perfect article with makeup effects artist Gabe Bartolos on his makeup effects work for the film. So if you want some behind the scenes interesting insights, go and read that on dailydead.com.
We got all your Leprechaun shit.
Yeah, I know. I like the ad. Thank you.
I like how he kind of stunned all of us somehow.
No, I like how he said
we're
Daily
allowed
Dead.
to pitch the website.
I like how he said dailydead.com at the end with the cool .com, because it was how in a lot of podcasts you'll get those commercials in the middle, but we don't have commercials in the middle. But that's what it sounded like. So
I mean,
can I throw something out into the universe?
Yeah.
Advertisers. I absolutely love it when a Daily Dead blurb makes it onto a movie. It makes my heart sing. It is not the Daily Dead. It's just Daily Dead. Please, for the love of God.
It makes us sound like a group of zombies
begging you. And also, if it's a blurb from Heather, and chances are very, very, very good, it's going to be WIXSON. SON. Wixon.
Both very important things to remember. The Wixon is definitely the more important one. I'm not as picky about the Daily Dead. It's because it's happened so much over the years. I'm just used to it, to the point where I bought thedailydead.com and it just redirects. So there's a little Easter egg.
Simmons.
You could almost maybe they're just giving it its due respect, like how they say the Ohio State, like they're saying thedailydead.com.
Jonathan's going all Gene Simmons over here. I'm going to trademark lemonade.
All right. Well, so I think we need to come up with an excuse to have Scott just do an entire episode as Gene Simmons, because that was amazing. Usually I give him grief. I actually absolutely love that Gene Simmons, and I want more of it.
No.
Well, that's fair. I had that coming.
We have gotten Daily Bread before. The people mispronouncing Daily Dead, that happens one time, because sometimes you'll call in, or there was for the voice conference lines for different junkets, and sometimes they'll have you call into these centers, and you'll have to give them your outlet and a passcode. and I'll be like, so Jonathan James and Daily Dead, and they'll be like, we don't have Daily Dead, but we have like Daily Bread. And I'd be like, well, I'm guessing that's me. It's the same name. It's Daily Bread. I mean, I've heard Daily Bread maybe a half dozen times over the last 10 years. Enough where like, yeah, it's that one
close enough.
Mr. Wheat with Daily Bread.
As someone who someone named Brian who spells it with a Y, I almost like if I ever get onto the front of a if I ever get like a pull quote, I'm just fully expecting it to be an I.
Oh, I hope so.
Oh yeah.
And I hope they screw up my last name. I hope it's Drebit forever. Or two B's, two D's. Or debit.
Ooh, debit.
Yeah. I have been Drebin as well, as in just like Frank.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's gonna be like it's gonna say like Frank Drebin DailyDead.com. And it's gonna be for like one of the Naked Gun releases. They'll have like a Naked Gun re-release.
No, it'll be for like some critically panned movie, and I'm the only person who liked it.
Hey, if you liked it, that's all that. I mean, that's a badge of honor then. Derek, you didn't get to talk about Leprechaun because you didn't see Leprechaun, and that's okay. I'm not here to shame you. What I am here to do is give you time to talk about Event Horizon on Blu-ray.
Yes, so I heard we were doing a Leprechaun episode, so naturally I rushed to watch Event Horizon.
Yeah, of course.
Natch.
My safe place aboard the Event Horizon. I went and watched that. It was kind of a happy accident, actually, because I mean it's a movie I've seen multiple times, but I was lucky enough to get the new Scream Factory release, which is coming out on March 23rd, a new collector's edition. And so I got that in the mail, and then my sister, brother-in-law, and dad had never seen it. And so it kind of worked out where we all got to watch it. They got to watch it for the first time. I got to watch it.
Sweet family movie, bro.
Oh, exactly. It's like Lost in Space, but a little bit lighter in tone is what I told them. And it did not disappoint. It was... Actually, I think I like it more upon a repeat viewings, just because I love, like, I don't know, I appreciate, and it's kind of like an in-your-face horror movie in some ways, but the more I watch it, the more it's kind of this slow burn, Shining-esque, like haunted mansion in space movie that just really gets under my skin. And I feel like it's actually a lot more subtle than I remember. And I just love the transformative performances, how Sam Neill just totally goes there with his performance. But I really like Lawrence Fishburne even more this time around. Like as the captain, I just watching how he interacts with the crew, and he knows exactly how to get the best out of each of his crew members on the Event Horizon, or not on the Event Horizon, but on the ship that they use to get to the Event Horizon. I just like, there's so many little details, like how he lets his pilot like smoke only like right away after they get attached to the ship, because he knows that he's so anxious, and he's like, all right, light him if you got him. And then he's taking a drag off the cigarette. And it's just like, damn, there's so many like little fun details in there. And it was really cool. The new collector's edition has a new 4K scan of the original camera negative. So it's not like the 4K Ultra HD, but it looks the best it's ever looked. And it comes complete with 11 new interviews on the special features. No, I have not watched any of them yet, but I do intend to. And a bunch of other special features from the previous home media release. So there's tons of new stuff on here, including a new interview with Paul W.S. Anderson and some of the actors and like a ton of the crew members. So there's a lot to love on this release.
And this is one of those ones that like there's supposed to be like this lore of this like much gorier uncut version, but apparently the footage is lost or something like that, right? Like they've never actually found the full cut of this thing.
Yeah, it's believed to be lost.
probably sitting in a basement somewhere. Maybe it's buried in like a tomb, and it'll be discovered long after we're gone. But for now, it's lost. And because I believe there's that, we get those glimpses of like hell where the crew members end up, and so we get those subliminal flashes. And I think there's a lot more content with that, which is particularly gory. But I kind of like, I don't know, like I kind of like how it's so these short little bursts, and the subliminal flashes are almost more haunting because then you have to kind of fill in the blanks yourself, and you're like, wait, did I really just see that? And if you really want to mess yourself up, you can try and pause it at the right times and see what's really going on there. But I think like the editing is really good as far as like just giving you little short, quick bursts and then kind of moving on. And you're like, it makes you almost as disoriented as the crew members who are also getting these flashes, but they don't really know what they're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I mean, if there were extra footage, sure, I would see it. I don't think it necessarily needs it. I don't think I necessarily need more gore. I think it's a perfect movie as is.
What wasn't it? When you for listeners, longtime Corpse Club listeners may remember that me, Jonathan, and Heather did an episode, a 20th anniversary episode on Event Horizon, all the way back on episode 12 of Corpse Club. So if you want to listen to a full episode on Event Horizon, dial all the way back almost 200 episodes and listen to that.
Yeah, just know that we could talk about this for hours if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm. See, I was fortunate enough to miss it the first time around, and now I got ambushed. See, folks, they didn't tell me that there was going to be any Event Horizon talk on this here podcast tonight.
We wanted it to be a surprise.
They boonswaggled me.
Yeah. We really made it a secret by putting it into an email that you were CC'd on.
Well, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, Event Horizon, the nice thing I'll say about it, I think it's Paul W.S. Anderson's best movie. I also don't think it's very good. It plays like the greatest hits.
The biggest backhanded compliment.
It really is.
I'm sorry.
This is his best movie, and it sucks.
I'm sorry. No, it doesn't. It doesn't suck, but it plays like a greatest hits of stuff from better movies. To me, it doesn't feel like it has its own identity. So I've always been.
Wait a minute. The blood, though, slowly coming out of the glass. That's not original.
I just think it's a mishmash of a bunch of better movies, and that doesn't come through as something of its own. I don't hate it. Mm-hmm. I would certainly watch the special edition, but I know a lot of people very much love it, and I'm sad to say that I am not. Well, no, I'm not sad to say, but I'm in that minority who isn't crazy about it.
Hey, that's, fair enough. Fair enough.
But I think I heard Tamika say that she agrees this is Anderson's best movie.
Yeah, for sure. But it's okay because Scott, we're a hive mind, Scott and I, and he took the lead. He felt it when I said I agree, and he just went right there.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the best parts too about rewatching it is the just blasting the end credits music, which sounds like a techno kind of rave, and it almost sounds like there's going to be an exercise workout video going on with them working out in the core room or something. It just sounds like, all right, let's go. Everyone's in hell. We're going to work out.
Now
I'm just music.
I'm picturing a retrolistically scarred Sam Neill in like a leotard, just kicking off like a Sweat into the Oldies session or something.
We're going to work our cores in the core. Let's go now, folks.
I would watch that.
I would too.
See, I wish they didn't get Sam Neill for the new interviews, but I wish they did, because I mean, that's like, there's so much of that movie where his face is just covered with prosthetics and it's like he can't see anything. Like, I mean, that must have just been, I don't know what that was like for him. I mean, that I'm admire that he did this after Jurassic Park. Like he went and took a role where he knew he would literally like be put through hell. It's such an interesting choice for him. And then and after In the Mouth of Madness too.
And I'll say, as I am a fan of this movie, I really do like Event Horizon, but I do remember the first time I saw it when he first kind of comes out in the full, like, you know, from hell garb, you know, with all the cuts and stuff. As a Hellraiser fan, I was just kind of like, oh, okay.
It really does. I mean, like you kind of, you know, you mentioned the Hellraiser connection, but it really does become like a Hellraiser movie by the end with just,
I'm just going to be over sitting in the corner in my rocking chair, staring disapprovingly and saying,
I don't know about that.
I mean, I agree with almost everything Scott said. I still love the movie, but I mean, I do agree that it is, like I said, it is kind of a mishmash. Is that what we're saying? Of other movies. Okay, well, I want to make sure I had it of other movies, but yeah, I mean, I still enjoy it, and I still think, I mean, sci-fi horror is really tough to get right. Mm-hmm. There's not many of them that, you know, that to me are really rewatchable. I haven't thought about it enough where I'm going to give my list. Maybe that'll be another episode. But there's not many of them. So for me, like, you know, Event Horizon's definitely higher on the list there.
What's amazing too is this came out in '97, so it was when there was a lot of questionable CGI being used that didn't date well, but they managed to do so much practical, and the CG that they did do, other than some like gimmicky stuff, like when it's floating through the hallways, most of it actually holds up pretty well. And the core room is like still one of the most awesome set pieces. Like it literally is just so, I don't know. It's like a room dedicated to like Pennywise's deadlights. There's something so like hypnotizing about it. And it could have, like, if they had just gone all in on the CG at the time, which other horror and sci-fi films of that era did, like this would be maybe an unwatchable movie, but it definitely, like, it finds the fine line. Somehow it holds up in that regard.
And this is, for me, one of those movies where like a scene kind of makes this movie for me. Like I definitely agree, Scott. Like there's a lot of it that's derivative of better movies. But just the whole buildup and payoff for the video footage of the previous crew, like that just blew my brain out of the back of my head, and it will forever be just kind of like imprinted and scarred in my mind as something that will just live in my nightmares for the rest of my life. So I have to give it credit for that.
You know, it's got a life of its own. Actually, it's funny too, because I feel like as much as it borrows from other movies, I feel like a lot of movies have borrowed from it since then, and maybe it's just because other movies are borrowing from the movies that Event Horizon borrowed from. But like you can look at like what happens like to a certain character, their death scene is like straight out of Midsommar, and there's like the whole theory of how they travel through space that Sam Neill does with the poster.
Oh,
like
the
that's
paper.
that's something that a lot of movies have referenced since this came out. And so I don't know, it just feels like it's kind of in that regard, it's had a little more influence than I think maybe they anticipated it would.
I would go as far to say it's influential.
And it is funny you mentioned that, Derek, because I do know the scene you're talking about in Midsommar, because when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's a mishmash of Hannibal and Event Horizon.
Yes, I'm sure that's exactly what they want us to take from that scene.
Yeah, and I don't know, I can't remember the last movie that did it, but there is the wormhole, fold the paper, like put the pen through. Like, did they do that in Interstellar? I know they did that in a movie more recently, but every time I'm like, that's from Event Horizon.
And Stranger Things.
Oh, yes, Stranger Things. That's right. They did that. Oh, my gosh. See?
My Science Project? No. Back to the Future? No.
Well, okay.
Star Trek?
So maybe.
How about the Star Trek?
No, did they do the
Star
paper?
Trek
Did they do the
That's what I'm
paper
saying.
thing in those movies? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they did it in Star Trek. I can't say for certain on Back to the Future. I'm pretty positive they didn't do it in Star Trek.
I'm 99% sure that they didn't do it in Back to the Future.
Yeah, no.
Did they do it in Vice Academy? No.
Scott, stop trying to derail the conversation. I know you
It's
don't want to talk
influential.
about it.
Well, from where we are right now,
Right.
But no, we've given Event
the
Horizon
correlation
its-
between Event Horizon and Midsommar.
Goodfellas. Let's never
the
forget
conversation that our listeners and Scott didn't expect us to have.
No.
But it's sadly it's time to move on. As much as I know we all want to continue discussing Event Horizon, because we are going to talk a little bit because we promised that we would talk about this, so we're going to. Are you afraid of the dark?
Not really.
Yeah, I mean I'm
Hurtful, Scott.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. But we're going to talk about it. We're gonna talk about your fear of the dark. So, Tamika, I know you brought this up as a topic you wanted to discuss. So, are you watching the new series? It's the second of the season of the reboot. I don't know how they're referring to it, but are you talking about that, or are you talking about you're rewatching the original series, or both?
Both. So I'm trying to. I tried to go in order, but that I don't know. I didn't really enjoy that for some reason. So I started skipping all over the place. I remember is it a reboot? No, it's like I guess like more of a continuation, right? That came out in 2019.
Is it Derek? I'll let you be the expert here. I would say it's a reboot. I don't think it ties back to the original. Or is there is there an Easter egg I'm missing?
I think you would say reboot because even though it's kind of a continuation because they mention how like there's been many midnight societies over the years. The Easter eggs and that kind of thing kind of give it that reboot feeling, and I think they've called it like a revival too. So it's one of those like mixtures, I think.
Okay.
I mean, I guess the point of it is it doesn't. You can believe either way you want. Like if you want to believe that it takes place in the same universe, there's just not a very strong connection, I guess I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't know what exactly, because sometimes I get confused about when they say like reboot and reimagining and like a continuation, a spiritual sequel. I get kind of confused sometimes.
I mean, I don't think anybody definitively knows what they're talking about when they're...
We are going to call the original from now on. The original will be known as a previval.
Oh, perfect.
Which is a pre-revival. So it's yes.
So that totally clears it up.
The original is going to be called a previval.
Not a prequel.
Not a prequel.
The Thing previval. Halloween previval.
There you go.
Whoa. That is... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just curious because you said you'd kind of been skipping around with the older episodes. Did you go to ones that you remembered watching before that you really liked, or were you just kind of looking at ones that you thought looked interesting?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I definitely... Well, no, I actually tried to, when I was initially trying to go in order, I know I've seen like the episode. I know I have, like, there's something in the back of my mind. It just tingles like, yeah, I've totally seen this, but I think it just eroded over time. Like this, I'm really bad with the titles of the episodes, but the clown one.
Is it the Ghastly Grinner or is it the Crimson Clown?
I think it's that one. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the Crimson Clown with like the really big, it's hard to explain, but he has like the really big, round, like pale, like face. And it's a really big, like cartoon kind of eyes. Does that make sense?
Tamika, you just described me, so I don't know what you're trying to say.
No way, Brian, no.
Yeah, I remember this one being really creepy. Like the imagery in it was really freaky.
Yeah, like, oh God, I that's the only way I can think to describe it though, because there is another episode with a clown, but that clown looks more distinctively like I know there are different kinds of clowns, but like it's not like a sad clown. It's like one like you'd see like at a party, but like more deranged. Like maybe that clown had a bad day. the kids
Listen,
were annoying.
personally, I don't invite a lot of clowns to parties myself. But I would just what I'm most curious about this show is with the original show, what was its time frame? Like, what year did it start roughly, and when did it end? Because I think I missed this show completely as its target audience. And is this a Canadian show, if I'm right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to say I'm pretty sure it was like the early 90s because
Okay.
I remember it came on SNCC.
Yes.
Original series aired from 90 to 96.
96. Okay. Yeah. So that was like the sweet spot for me. It was on SNCC. Late at night, I had to sneak because I wasn't allowed to watch stuff like that.
You had to sneak SNCC?
And it had...
And I didn't even mean that as a joke. I saw it went quiet.
And after she did,
SNCC was a
I mean,
little
she
more
snuck
adult
SNCC.
programming, though.
What was SNCC? I don't know what this SNCC is.
It's Saturday Nick.
It was like Nick after night.
Because that was the one. That was the kind of thing that had like all that and like that kind of stuff, right? The stuff for the teens.
Oh, and didn't they have, what was it? Was it Angry Monsters or what was it?
Real Monsters.
Real Monsters. Yeah. I remember that. That was like a little bit, I don't know if it was part of SNCC or it was right before SNCC, but I do remember that.
And then they showed Emmanuel and the Cannibals. No, that was SNCC Plus.
Could you imagine? Oh my gosh.
Just you wait, Tamika. There will be a SNCC Plus.
Oh no, please no.
Another $15.95 for this.
Right? It would be like $20 easy.
Who wouldn't do that though? Who would not do that? Personally, if someone said to me, okay, for $20 a month, you can watch an entire season of network television from 1978, and you get all three networks, and you can PVR every show, and you can watch an entire schedule, including Saturday mornings.
Oh,
But isn't that what,
like a 4-hour lineup?
aren't you basically
cartoons.
describing Pluto TV?
Right.
I don't have Pluto, so I don't have Pluto, but that's what I would do.
Oh, Canada, no.
I would pay. I would pay for that.
They don't stream Pluto in Canada?
I don't know. I'll have to look. I don't think I've ever really looked.
You're too busy watching Tubi.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like it's I would say a spiritual sibling of Tubi, except in addition to having like the on-demand stuff, they play like quote unquote live channels that you can actually like channel surf through, but it's like stuff from like 70s, 80s, 90s. Like there's a whole station just devoted to like the same 7 episodes of Wings. It's a very weird platform, but it's actually a lot of fun.
But I think it would be I don't think there would be a better cultural time capsule, or it would certainly be a great cultural time capsule to go through a whole season, of a network. I think it would be a blast.
It would have to include like the original commercials too.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if you're paying $20, I don't think they think $20 a month is a lot to a lot of people. But I think when you're paying $20 a month, why should there not be a niche, market like this that's really, if it came down to, like if CBS could very easily go back into their vaults and say, oh, you want to watch a whole season from 1981? Sure, you can watch it on this tier. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know how much out of pocket it's going to cost them already, but it's me and 6 other weirdos who would like to do this.
I would actually, like, if they were going to do that, I would almost rather them do something where they like brought back the library of all the made for TV movies just too. Like throughout the, so like basically like if it would be an opportunity to bring back It Came from the Tube or something like that, because like whenever those came up, it's like, oh man, like I kind of wish I could go back and see that. And I know they're not as readily available nowadays as they once were.
Well, here's the thing though. If it would be worked into my program, because you would be watching the actual broadcast for that date and time. So if it was the Saturday night and it was the ABC, Saturday night movie, or the CBS Saturday night movie, you're getting whatever was shown at that time.
So it's like it really is a time capsule of like what aired on that day, which is fascinating, because if you go through like the online or the TV guide when you're scrolling through the channels, I love like just looking at the dates that shows aired. Like you can even watch, like Andy Griffith aired on October 7th, 1964. And I'm like, it's such a random thing for them to put on every episode. And it's like, okay, this is, they let you know exactly what day it aired.
But I mean, it's the same thing as people who, it's no different than people who do that with Star Trek. But Star Trek were the first ones to, I don't want to say fetishize, and I can't say it anyway. That kind of behavior, but they were the first ones to do it. But now Andy Griffith, I'm sure, has quite a large fan base, and those people, I'm sure, they get together and they talk about season 4, episode 3, just like Star Trek people do.
So would there be could you get like a higher tier and have it so that you would get shipped like the TV guide for that particular week, so that like what's coming up?
Oh, you mean like a digital PDF of the TV guide?
No, hard copy. If we're doing this, let's be serious.
Oh, yes.
Well, you might be pushing your $20.
Now you're looking at 50 a month for that.
Yeah. Now you just upped it, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think you're right. I do think there's an audience for all this kind of stuff. I know that right now, like a lot of streaming services, Paramount Plus right now, they're struggling to keep up. But I think once they, a lot of these places get the infrastructure and they get the audience, it's like, well, how do we keep them? They have this huge back catalog. So I do think we'll see some of their older titles getting more care, but I do like the idea of just being able to watch it like network broadcast style.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And like, is it a thing where like you would need to, like, is this airing it in real time? So like you would actually need to schedule like, oh, I need to be home at 7:00 so that I can catch the, whatever would have been playing.
It airs in real time, but we have modern technology. So of course you can PVR, right? Right. They don't need it for the ratings. It's a streaming service. So you PVR it.
I think you're onto something.
So
we'll call it the Drebit subscription service.
Drebit.
The Frank Drebit subscription service.
That'll just be the name of it.
That's Drebin. Okay.
Okay. I don't know where we go from that. I don't know where we go. Just lost.
I was wrong. I'm sorry. Okay. It's the tale.
Oh yeah, we were talking about
I realized that. I'm like, I gotta get back to this, I guess. Tamika, thank you for bringing us back. What do you got?
I was so like fixated. I'm like listening to the I forget what it's called, the Drebin streaming service. But I was also trying to think, because I was like, it's not about a train. It's not about a train. So I was trying to think of the title. It's The Tale of the Midnight Ride. I knew train wasn't in the title.
Oh, okay.
I was like, wait, what? I think I'm starting. I've seen so many of these now. I think I'm starting to like.
Oh, wait, I'm flipping through the Rolodex. Are you afraid of the dark? Okay, continue.
Yes. Okay. So The Tale of the Midnight Ride is also a good one. But yeah, the Dead Man's Float.
That's
the haunted
horrifying.
Swimming pool.
Yeah, that's a good
with
one.
a young Jay Baruchel in that one.
Yes.
So what are the differences between, like, how different is it from Goosebumps, which is another show that again was,
Canadian.
No, it wasn't my target. I was past the target audience by the time Goosebumps came out. But how do the two compare to each other? Are they similar? Are they different? Are they complement each other?
from what I remember, I think they were fairly similar. I mean, I think the one hook that Goosebumps had going for it was that it was based off of the books, right?
Books.
I'm not.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was just like these half-hour little adaptations of the actual books. But I think in terms of like tone and scares and stuff like that, like I think they were, from what I remember, very similar.
I will say the Are You Afraid of the Dark had way like the scariest opening theme song.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
And whereas the Goosebumps opening theme song was kind of light and bouncy
Wacky,
and fun. Yeah. And Are You Afraid of the Dark was like, you are going to crap yourself. It is so scary.
Yeah, I think actually the opening credits of Are You Afraid of the Dark was the scariest part of Are You Afraid of the Dark.
I agree. The like Shudder flapping, that like that would get me every time. That skateboard and
that damn abandoned swing set with just creaking back and forth.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean that show
Haunts
gave
music.
my sister and brother nightmares. Like they couldn't watch it. So I mean this was their, I mean in some cases it terrified them for life, but this was their way into horror. My sister, yeah, she was terrified of it.
Oh yeah. I mean, the special effects given the time period, and like I imagine they didn't have the biggest budget, was really like the pirate, the red. Derek, do you know what I'm talking about? The red like skeleton guy.
Was that the thing that came out of the
the
swimming pool?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was really good.
That was so well done.
Yeah. Yeah, they always, and the ghastly grinner with the like the blue ooze coming out of his mouth, that jester character is just like they really push the envelope as far as the imagery that they put in that show.
I did want to talk about the new series because we do have season 2 of the revival,
which apparently is the second revival. Because I was looking at the Wikipedia page,
is a revival.
And there was one in like 99 or 2000 or something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It did originally it like went off the air for a few years and then it came back for a couple seasons.
So revival.
Yep.
Well, even between the new season 1 and 2, they're not connected and it's different cast.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be a revival.
Something like that. But season 1 of the first season of this latest reboot, I have seen that. I have not seen the new one yet, but that first season is really good. I remember I was bugging you for a while to watch it, Derek, but we finally caught up on it, Christy and I, and it's great. I think it's what is it, 3 hour and a half, 3 1 hour and a half episodes, and but it's great for horror fans. There's all kinds of little references. The kids are great. And so yeah, I think it's good for all ages. If you're an adult watching it by yourself, you'll be good and find something to enjoy. If you're watching it with your kids, it's not too scary. So I'd recommend that. And how are you liking season 2, Derek?
This latest season is 6 episodes at it's like 42 minutes an episode. And so they got a little more time to work with this time around. And actually the finale airs the day this episode comes out, and it'll be the 100th episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark all time. So that's pretty cool.
Woohoo.
So syndication, but it's been good. It's been a lot of fun. I think I'm really curious to see how they end it, because I think it was really hard to the bar was set so high with the 2019 season, and I really loved the chemistry of those characters, and I think it took a little bit longer for these characters to fully kind of get that chemistry. But I've been really impressed with the last couple of episodes leading up to the finale, and they did something where like by episode 3 something happens that is like a total 180, and you think you're watching you think you're watching one thing, and the entire story shifts into a new story, and now it's almost like we're watching like the birth of a supervillain. It's really interesting. It's like Chronicle meets Stranger Things right now, like with a little bit of The Ring thrown in there. It's really, really interesting what they've done, and I think they were allowed to go even darker this season than the 2019 one. So I'm really curious, and there's tons more Easter eggs for the original series this time around, and they brought back like a new take on the magician Sardu from the original series This time it's pronounced Sardo, but that was a recurring character from the original Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I kind of missed it. I think he's either like the grandson of Sardu, because he says like that's what everyone called my grandfather or my father. So I think it might be a continuation of that magician family, but he's a major character in this one. So if you like the original series, there's a lot to enjoy in this new season. And then there's also some really unexpected stuff they threw in there. And Jeff Wadlow, who directed Blumhouse's Truth or Dare and Blumhouse's Fantasy Island, he directs 4 of the 6 episodes and is also executive producing it. So it's a very like cinematic kind of big screen feeling with how they filmed everything. So it's something I would definitely recommend. I think I would suggest you watch the 2019 one if you haven't, and then if you dig that, I think you'll definitely dig this.
Yeah, I haven't. I've been waiting to binge it. I like to wait until it's all done. But Amazon keeps reminding me because they knew I bought the first. They knew I bought that first season, so it's like it pops up every time. And Amazon, you have won me over. I will get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amazon. Yeah.
Peso.
Did we just kick off an episode of was it NCIS or crap? No.
Yeah. CSI Miami.
CSI, that's one. Yeah. Too many acronyms.
With that, it stars that one guy from Without Warning. I can never. I think that's how they advertise that show.
Yep, totally.
I think my favorite thing about Derek.
From Without Warning.
I think my favorite thing about Derek's jokes is that it takes everybody a good 25 to 30 seconds to realize he was making a joke.
Oh no, I got it right away. I was marinating in it.
You're just basking.
Yeah.
You're too busy. You're still shaking your head at us from our Event Horizon conversation.
No, that's just much better.
So speaking of
Scott
Scott,
disapproves.
Scott, what have you been watching lately? Anything you want to talk to our readers about?
Sure,
what do you got? I'm putting our listeners. They're listeners, right? They read too. I mean, come on. What do you think? You think they don't read, Scott? Come on now.
They have to read the episode description, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Let us see. Let me open up the old letterbox. Okay, I'm just very, in the briefest of terms, going to talk about this first movie called "Stay Out of the Bleepin' Attic," that is currently on Shudder. Has anyone else seen it yet?
I am not. I have not seen it, but I am aware of it.
I haven't. No.
Okay, Tamika.
No.
No, Bryan.
Not yet.
I like how everybody's like,
okay.
No.
I've seen it get a lot of actually middling to positive reviews, with only that I've seen 2 reviews discuss the issues, which I thought were very, very apparent from watching the movie. So the story is basically this guy owns this moving company called Second Chance Moving. He's an ex-con who has started a moving company called Second Chance. So it's very subtle right off the bat. And he has 2 workers with him, a black woman and a Latino man. And they are also both ex-cons. And the house they go to belongs to this old white man who turns out to be German, who turns out to be a Nazi, who turns out to be, wait for it, Joseph Mengele himself. And he traps them in the house. And as it turns out, the lead of our movie is an ex-Nazi member himself. And the movie is told from his point of view as he redeems himself. So what you get is this wonderful Nazi apology tour. Not only that, but one of the kills has Mengele pumping gas into a bathroom that he's rigged like a chamber. done up like a saw trap.
This sounds fun.
Yeah, I stay quiet about most things because most things I find in horror movies acceptable. This is one where I watched it and I was so angry. I can't think of a movie I've been so angry at that is so misguided, intentional or not. It is so horribly misguided that okay. I'm done with that one. Those are my thoughts on Stay Out of the Attic, currently streaming on Shudder.
So
for those
like
interested.
3.5 out of 5 or
I gave it half a star.
wow.
But I mean, the thing is, you're very forgiving about most movies, as people know. So when obviously, when you don't really like a movie, I think it makes people sit up a little bit more and be like, "Oh, there must be really something to this." So it just it's unfortunate.
It's how it hit me, and there, like I said, there was one review I read who said by them centering the action around the white protagonist and not the people of color, who are the people who would be targeted, it becomes this, like I said, this apology tour, this redemption arc is all to do with this Nazi.
Well, there are good people on both sides, Scott. Remember that.
There you go. There you go. And with that, and I do encourage people to watch it because I think it's a movie that, deserves to be discussed. I'm glad it's there because if it gets people talking in possibly a way that may be more positive, then I'm all for it. My next movie that I watched recently is Freddy Got Fingered because I'd never seen it before.
Oh my gosh.
Now this one on my letterbox, I give it 3 stars out of 5.
I'm just picturing.
Wait.
I'm just picturing the guy who made
4 in space. No. But Freddy Got Fingered is a 3.5 out of 5.
No, it's a 3. Let's not be silly.
Now I'm picturing, by some off chance, the guy who made Stay Out of the Effing Attic, listening to you say that you're giving that a half a star, and then saying I gave Freddy Got Fingered 3 stars, and just being like, what the hell, man? Come on.
Here's what I like about Freddy Got Fingered. So Tom Green started a long time ago on Canadian television. As a matter of fact, he started off, maybe some people don't know, he was part of a rap group. They had a song called they were called OR, Organized Rhyme, and they had a song called Check the OR. Look it up; it's a real thing. Anyway, No, it's a good song. Anyway, he had a local show in Canada that was on, I think, CBC, called The Tom Green Show, and he was very likable. No one was ever hurt. He was goofy, but sort of kind of charming. What I like about Freddy Got Fingered is, off the back of the popularity that he was getting from MTV, someone actually gave him money to write and direct his own movie. And apparently, judging by the results, he got to see his vision through. Am I impressed with the vision? Not particularly. It kind of reminds me of when Jerry Lewis had carte blanche in the 60s to write and direct his own movies, and then he would just get Paramount to distribute them. It has that same kind of feeling. Now, again, your mileage is going to vary. A lot of people can't stand Jerry Lewis on the screen or off. And people's mileage on a Tom Green may vary as well. And obviously by the box office results and the critical results, it did too. But it's a movie that, just by comparison, it's a movie I'm glad is around because someone was handed money to make the movie that they wanted to make. And you know what? And ultimately, it's a pretty harmless movie, I think.
And they somehow roped both Rip Torn and Julie Haggerty into it.
Yeah. Well, no, I can completely imagine Rip Torn getting a script, first of all, saying Freddy got fingered, and his eyebrow would go up, knowing Rip Torn, and then read the part, and he'd go, forward, I'm in, right? And he would do it because that's just the kind of guy he is, right? Of course he read it and probably thought, this is going to be terrible. Let's do it.
He wasn't a guy that said no a whole bunch.
Well, but it's like,
I don't mean that in a bad way either.
Yeah, and he knew it was a movie that, was going to die. Of course it was going to die. Let's give it a Viking burial at least, right? Let's light some boats here. My next film was Lucky, which is also on Shudder.
I want to check that one out.
And that was written and starring Brea Grant, and it's terrific. So the movie is basically about an author, and she's a self-help author. And her last book really didn't sell all that well, so she's kind of working on ideas for her new book. But she gets attacked at night, her and her husband, by a stalker who invades their home. The thing is, it keeps happening night after night, and her husband knows about it. As the movie goes on, what you realize what the movie is truly about is what it is like to be a woman for, let's say, a couple days, just to be in a woman's shoes who has to deal with something like this. It is amazing. It is not really trippy so much as it feels like you were watching a Twilight Zone episode and then realize, this could be like the best Twilight Zone episode I've ever seen. Anyway, it's really good. It draws you in immediately, and like I said, what the film is really about is so powerful, and it plays really well as a horror movie, and it plays really well just as a big social reminder, I guess.
Nice.
And then the last movie that I watched, which I watched last night, was Game of Death, which is also on Shudder. And this one would be a 2 out of 5 on the old letterbox. And Lucky would be a 4-star, by the way. Game of Death, if I'm remembering correctly, was a 2017 movie that made the festival circuit and then kind of disappeared.
Yeah, I remember that initial kind of buzz about it, and then
that's right.
Okay, so it's on Shudder now.
Yeah, it's on Shudder. It's not particularly good. It's about 75 minutes long. I think it started as a web series.
Oh, right.
And it kind of has that disjointed feel about it. Some of the effects aren't bad. All of the biggest problem is all of the characters are really unlikable. Like, imagine if they made a horror movie out of like Jersey Shore or The Real World. That's just my personal opinion. I don't like those kinds of people, and every single one of the characters in this movie are those kind of obnoxious characters. So on the one hand, yay, it's nice to see them, knocked off. At the same time, you have to spend a little too much time with them. But it's essentially the story about a game that looks like one of those electronic games like Simon or one of those, right? And everyone puts their people put their thumbs or their finger on it. And then it's such a wishy-washy premise that they don't like solidify it by saying, and now 24 people have to die or you'll die. Okay.
Okay.
So they, decide to start killing people, and again, it's not consistent, like the time in between deaths. Like if you don't kill a person in a certain amount of time, one of you will die. Like that happens as well, but it varies according to the plot's convenience, right?
So,
one time it's 10 minutes in between, next time it's 30 seconds, right?
oh, whoa. Is it kind of like Truth or Dare? Would you say like cousins of Truth or Dare?
Yeah, sure. It's that kind of, but like I said, some of the effects aren't bad,
Okay.
but the characters are so unlikable. So, I gave that one 2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. And thanks for coming to Letterboxd Corner.
Yeah, Scott's
Nice.
Letterboxd Corner. You caught up on a good bit. Lucky being the one that definitely stands out, and I've heard good things about that. So
Absolutely.
I gotta check that one out. And Brian, have you read or seen anything worthwhile lately?
I got my own Letterboxd up. In fact, so I'm trying to keep up. I'm a little bit behind on those 11 weeks of releases through Shudder. I'm probably behind in terms of I still haven't seen The Dark and the Wicked yet. Part of that is just because I'm terrified too, because everyone I've heard talk about it says it's incredibly bleak. So that's one I'm just still bracing myself for. I also need to catch up on Lucky and Stay the F Out of the Attic. But the last one I saw was Shook, which is about a kind of an Instagram influencer who is babysitting or dog sitting for her sister. And while she's doing that, she becomes the target of kind of this sinister guy who basically has her start to do these different like tasks and games. Otherwise, her other Instagram kind of clique friends are going to get killed. This one wasn't really my cup of tea. It was, I think my biggest issue with it is that it focuses so hard on kind of like the pitfalls of influencer culture that it's just kind of very derisive, and in a lot of ways probably rightfully so. But for me, like influencer culture is just something like, it's not for me, but it's also, I don't think it's like the downfall of society or anything like that. So a lot of what this movie kind of gets into is just, there's a lot of really unlikable people in it. And that's kind of with considering that like one of those unlikable people is the protagonist. And there's attempts at kind of layering in, some sympathetic vibes, but I don't know, it just doesn't land. And I will say, I think I saw the twist coming about in the first act. So it was just something that it wasn't really anything that brought anything terribly new to the table. Again, that's just my opinion. I don't want to completely crap all over it. I gave it a 2 out of 5. There were some things in there that I think showed some promise, just in terms of there's a sister duo in there, or that's kind of the core of the core relationship of the movie that takes some interesting turns. But yeah, other than that, it just wasn't something I clicked with very much.
Yeah, I was curious about that one.
Yeah,
it's part of the your homework for the 11 Shudder premieres.
Yes, yeah. So that's kind of where I am in that list. I'm a little bit behind, but I intend to get caught up. The other big one that I saw isn't a new one, but it's new to me. Shudder kind of did its periodic re-release of The Devils. That kind of pops up for like a month every now and then, and I've missed it every other time. And this time I said I wasn't going to, and I'm glad I finally caught up with it. I've determined 2 things with this movie. It reiterates my love for Oliver Reed, and it cements the idea that I am a Ken Russell fan. Between this and Altered States, I really like his style and I really like his work. There's just something so very over the top and weird about his approach. I was kind of watching this and I made a note on Twitter that it's basically the Devils is kind of like the Crucible on LSD.
Wow.
So it's kind of one of those things, and it's interesting because a lot of the kind of cultural phenomenon or the I don't know, socio-political stuff that the Crucible hints at, or is the subtext, is just kind of the text in the Devils. It's kind of one of those things where like they don't shy away from the fact that this is a movie that takes place in in France during the time of King Louis and Cardinal Richelieu, and it's kind of that power struggle of trying to make their push their will on the towns in France and utilizing religion as a political tool, which comes with some very bad consequences for those involved. But yeah, Oliver Reed does like kind of crappy guy that you can't help but pull for so damn well. And he does that kind of, on all cylinders in this movie. He's great in it. Vanessa Redgrave gives a very off the wall, but also very compelling performance. Just everything about it is just so weird. It's an absolute fever dream. It's not an easy watch either. But I'm definitely glad I saw it. And it just kind of makes me want to dig into Ken Russell's filmography quite a bit more. So gave that one a 4 out of 5.
You need to add Lair of the White Worm to that list.
I've heard that's another big one to catch up.
It's a Hammer tribute. It's an awesome Hammer tribute.
I'll definitely put that one tops on the list.
Yeah, and I would say for those that are those that have Shudder, like it's worth. I mean, again, the Devils they didn't have it for very long. Like Brian said, it was around for a month or two last time. I wouldn't sleep on this one. I mean, this was something that just was not available to many horror fans. I remember missing a screening in LA back in the day. And occasionally, like I said, it would pop up, but this was a banned movie. So, not only, or can you get it from the comfort of your home, but also it looks great. And I guess there is a little back and forth on like how uncut this version is.
It's not. They've come out and said it's just the R-rated version.
Well, that is true, but this is less edited down than I guess what they had previously.
Yeah, okay.
There is like an in-between state. I did see like a definitive discussion on it, and so I'm not going to pretend to know all of the details, but for those that, like I said, are interested, feel free to search. But there is like the really cut down version. There is the U.S. more uncut version that they have on Shudder now, and there's a slightly longer version if from the UK. But from what I understand, it's not like there's not enough missing to ruin your enjoyment. Like it's a minimal amount, like 5 minutes. Anyway, but that being said, this was a good one.
Yeah, when that first came out, that came out early on in the video boom, like around when Warner started putting out a lot of their stuff in like these big green plastic green and black clamshells. Yeah. The Devils was one of the first ones out because I remember seeing it on the shelf, but it didn't really look like horror, so I had no interest in it at the time.
Have you changed your tune on that?
Oh yeah, no, I watched it on the last go around that Shudder had it on because as Jonathan was saying, it just was not. The last time I saw it was 40 years ago in a video store in a green clamshell. So yeah, folks, don't sleep on that one.
Yeah, I think that caused me to get my subscription last time. So,
nice.
But yeah, so that was a good one. But yeah, I've been catching up on some movies too. I made a point. I mentioned, a couple episodes back that I made a point to, get through some more movies. I just wasn't in the mood last year. The year before, it was only Monster Club. There was nothing else. And I've decided to invest some more time on some movies I haven't seen. I saw, Scott, have you seen Blood for Dracula? Andy Warhol's Dracula? With Udo Kier?
No, I've seen I've seen Flesh for Frankenstein, but not Blood of Dracula, no. Or Blood for Dracula.
Yeah, Yeah, so I saw that finally. I'm just trying to take care of some of my vampire or Dracula gaps. So I saw that one.
How was it?
It was okay. Like I always enjoy watching a movie. I have like I said, that's a gap that I've been wanting to see. So like I can enjoy a movie, but also, but I'll be like, well, overall, like it wasn't that great. Like I might not see it again. But like I said, for me, it was like worth seeing for I guess historical reasons, or just to see like how the vampires evolved over time. I mean, the idea for this one is that, Dracula is dying, and the only way that he can survive is to feast on virgin blood. There's no more virgins in Transylvania, so he goes to Italy to find a virgin wife. There are not many virgins in Italy, according to the movie, and so he has a difficult time finding a wife. And for those that saw the Frankenstein movie or may have seen this, it's very sexually charged, which was at the time part of the movie's appeal, and it's again, just because I know a lot of people haven't seen this, so I know it's old, but I'm not going to just say like this is what happens at the end. But like the ending for me, like movies, like the ending can kind of cement it, and how they decide to deal with Dracula at the end, like I didn't necessarily love the rest of the movie, but man, did they dispose of Dracula in a very interesting way, is all I'm going to say. So I kind of want you to watch it, Scott, so we can talk about this.
All right. Yeah, I mean, and Udo Kier, as Dracula. I'm in.
Yeah. So, so I caught that one. I saw House on Skull Mountain, which I was playing Final Exam Trivia, which was, which had which covered all black horror movies. I can't remember when they did it. It was at least a couple weeks ago. And, they mentioned House on Skull Mountain. I said, I haven't seen that one, or I haven't seen it in a while. And they had mentioned that it was kind of like it was similar to House on Haunted Hill, and it is similar to that in that everyone goes to this house on Skull Mountain, and but also kind of reminds me of 13 Ghosts, the original, where there's like somebody leaves a will and like everybody kind of gets together, and in this case it's voodoo that's responsible for the deaths, and and it was another one. Either I haven't seen it in a while, or haven't seen it at all. So like I wanted to check that one out. I saw Mank. I know that just got nominated for a ton of Academy Awards. And so I finally saw that one. I was like, I did not know the story behind the writing of Citizen Kane. And it is very fascinating. I feel like some of the story is like a little, what do you call it? Like some of it's a tall tale when they make movies like this, they usually are. So I feel like some of the situations were maybe like a little too convenient, and I know there's some kind of logic gaps as well. But that being said, I like to hear more about old Hollywood history. There were some very terrible things that went on back in the day, but kind of like any kind of moment in history, whether it's politics, society, like when it comes to film, like that kind of got us to where we are today, good or bad. So I did find it interesting to kind of learn more a little there, and then it kind of allowed me to kind of read more into it.
And written by David Fincher's father.
Yeah, that too. So yeah, so like I said, that I thought that was worthwhile, as long as that's a topic that interests you. For people who are not interested in old Hollywood, if you haven't seen Citizen Kane, it probably isn't as interesting. And if you don't know some of the players, so I would probably recommend watching Citizen Kane first.
Hashtag Rosebud. Derek, no, I was going to say that.
Oh, sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So we'll edit out Derek, and then Tamika, go ahead and say it. We'll just cut straight to that.
Hashtag Rosebud.
If you remind me, if you send me an email, Brian, or I'll cut it out.
Then we can release a director's cut of this episode.
Because
later.
you have your own. You could just re-edit it. The Derek cut.
Like a John
it's literally
CCR.
People are like, it's literally 3 seconds longer. What did he possibly add?
$80 million. What did you spend it on? And then I saw Deadline, which came from Vinegar Syndrome, and that was I mean, again, they always have these gems. Like, I didn't know what Deadline was. It's a Canadian horror film from like 1980.
How could
I
you
wrote
not
about
know
it.
this kid?
How did I miss this one?
Yeah, I did a
Well, I
dust
must
off on that.
You know, you have so many dust offs. Yeah, at some point, I mean, obviously, how long ago did this go back? Because
That's
I would have
okay.
published it.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
Scott.
So I read
Scott,
it.
in all fairness, you don't remember some of your dust offs.
It took you 15 seconds of me talking for to go, I might have written about this.
Well, if you asked when it originally came out, it does not help your case, Jonathan, because it was published in early 2019. Is when the dust offs came out.
Yeah,
It's been like 10 years
ago.
in 2020. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I saw it. So we can talk about it then, Scott. So yes, I saw Deadline.
No shit, and I got to remember it.
Oh no.
Oh,
That's not.
No, go ahead. You'll jog my memory. I remember.
Yeah, and so it's like this Stephen King type character who, and I think what's really smart about it is that it is, you know, they do almost like an anthology format where there are these like inventive kills and scenarios. I don't think it sticks the landing, but like the first 2 acts, like I was sold.
Yeah. No, and again, it's a Canadian production, and it looks like a Canadian production, and that's not a dismiss of quality, but the more Canadian made films you see, the more they have a kind of a distinct patina about them, especially from a certain period, like 70s through mid 80s. They kind of have, it's hard to describe. It's the Cronenberg aesthetic, I guess you could say. A lot of Canadian films have that aesthetic, it's interesting.
He's just reading out of the dust off now, by the way.
I just pulled it up. I literally, I published this. I read it. I edited it. I made the image because there was no good image of Deadline.
I was going to say it's like 3 images in one.
It was a creative image, if I've said, because I couldn't find, like, there was not because all there was VHS at the time. Because Vinegar must have just released it in 2020. I'm getting all my years wrong, but I think they just released it recently. And so they must not, because otherwise I would have had screens for it. So what I did was I had like VHS screens.
And it looks like you wrote, Scott, that it was filmed in 79, but didn't come out until 84. That's a big gap.
Yes.
My goodness.
Keep going.
From the
pull up facts there. But anyway, I think this was a good one, especially
there's a
because
telepathic goat.
Yes,
there is. Yeah, this is one of those where even though it doesn't stick the landing, it's worth the watch. So if you haven't seen Deadline, and I know Vinegar's got a sale coming up, like I would pick it up.
Yes, and
it
does look.
It takes some nice swings. It does take some nice swings.
It did not. The Blu-ray came out in 2020. So
see, there we go. I got something right here.
Amazing high def images here to choose from.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anymore.
But do they have the boobies in the picture like the one that Jonathan apparently picked for this dust off?
Wait, did I?
It's a little not safe for work there, sir.
You must have been.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even notice. My monitor screen is so dark. I didn't even know when I picked it.
That's what I say too.
That's why he didn't see the boobies.
Yep. And then the last movie that I saw, and this is the one I really want to talk about. Has anyone seen Sundown, the Vampire in Retreat?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That was actually Scott's last dust off.
I know. I was going to say he probably just dusted it off.
Did I? No.
So I saw it yesterday, 2 days ago. Yeah, Christy. I was like, Christy, pick something that you think you'd like, and she was going through, and she picked Sundown, the Vampire in Retreat. I'm like, what is this? And then I look, and I'm like, David Carradine, Bruce Campbell, directed by Anthony Hickox. Like, how did I miss a Western horror? How did I?
Emmett Walsh.
Yeah, how did I miss this? So this movie was like, because I thought I had seen like. I've seen a lot of the 80s like kind of horror comedies, or especially 80s vampire movies. Like this one came out of nowhere. Every time I think I've seen them all, like this one really surprised me. because nobody really talks about this. I'm not going to say nobody because I'm sure there are articles about it, but like this is really off most people's radar. The name is forgettable. I'm looking at the name now so I can remember. The name is definitely part of it, but it looks like even though this movie had a big budget, has a decent cast, it's well shot, like this movie didn't get a theatrical release.
No.
So it got dumped to VHS.
That's where I
It
saw
got
it.
dumped to DVD, and then I've seen like the DVD cover, which has like Bruce Campbell, even though he's a secondary character in David Carradine. This movie was real surprising because this kind of does what we were talking about with Leprechaun, where it actually, like, it has kids in it. It seems like it could be more of a kids movie, but it's completely R-rated. It's really out there, and the idea behind it is that there's this town, and it's called Purgatory, and it's a group of vampires who have decided to kind of give up blood, and they've produced synthetic blood, and there are other vampires that don't want the synthetic blood, and part of the factory's not working where they're producing the blood, and they bring a guy and his family in to help fix it. And of course, things don't go well.
So this isn't True Blood?
This is, I don't know if this inspired True Blood, but it definitely is pre-True Blood. I mean, again, this was 89, so yeah.
It's good. It's weird. It's kooky. It actually, I think, pairs really well with his waxwork as well. It has that same kind of vibe, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was just surprised that this doesn't come, and this goes back, and I mention all the time, it comes back to who's distributing it. I think at this point, the company that owns it is Lionsgate. It's not a big priority for them. Maybe if this was, through another distributor, or definitely if it had a different name, maybe we'd see more of it. But to me, this was a hidden gem. I had a lot of fun with it. Not perfect by any means, but surprised that really nobody's seen this movie. So it's on Amazon Prime. I don't think we paid anything for it. So I think it was free on Amazon Prime.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's on Prime for free.
Sweet.
Good choice. Great pick. That is a fun one.
Yeah, and all Christie. So I was super surprised because she said Sundown, the Vampire in Retreat. I'm like, what is this? And then we just put it on because it was that, or I can't even remember what the other pick was. It wasn't. We would have been disappointed, and we were tired, but we stayed up for this.
Yeah, Prime is perfect for that kind of stuff.
But yeah, so we've been catching up on a lot of movies. It sounds like kind of across the board. I'm not going to dive into all of your picks, Tamika or Derek, because we did Leprechaun for Tamika, and Derek, you got hours worth of Event Horizon. But if the two of you have anything you wanna discuss quickly, we got some time.
I vote for Derek to go.
Oh, so I can stall. Okay. No, I'm good at stalling. Okay, I can do this.
Okay.
I'm going to start looking around
or
the room.
You could both
and
pass. You don't have to stall. Yeah, just if there's anything you think our listeners, our readers would like to check out.
I did finish. We finished watching the new limited series adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand on CBS All Access, which magically overnight transformed into Paramount Plus. And so, but yeah, that whole series, I know it's definitely not been a fan favorite, but call me crazy, but I think I actually liked it overall. And I really liked the book, and I think the second half of the series I definitely preferred over the first half. I think the time jump stuff really is disorienting, but I feel like it really settles into a groove once they get to Boulder, and then the introduction to New Vegas to the tune of Kiss's Lick It Up is quite memorable. So you can do your Gene Simmons impression for that one, Scott. So yeah, I would say your mileage may vary, but and for those who really dig the 90s Stan adaptation, you'll be pleased to know that Mick Garris does have a brief appearance in the new miniseries, so that was kind of a nice shout out that they did there. And Stephen King wrote the final episode. So it was interesting to kind of see him do something a little different with that universe. And let's see what else. We finished watching season 2 of The Umbrella Academy. So we're all caught up on that show and really liked the second season. I think that show just gets better with every episode, and I loved it from the beginning. And I really can't wait to see what they do with the new setting going into season 3. Let's see. Other than that, and Riverdale now is doing kind of this Mothman aliens subplot. So they're throwing in some really interesting sci-fi stuff that may or may not be aliens. There's definitely a fire in the sky vibe to some of the recent episodes with. That's all I'll say about that. But it's
they've moved on from the snuff film arc.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
It's always
good for you to catch us up on.
Yes,
because apparently I've seen the previews for it. Mm-hmm. That looks like that's full out supernatural horror.
It's a full on horror series. Like I'm only like an episode behind right now, so we've watched pretty much. There's like 20 plus episodes so far over the first couple of seasons, and it is full on horror. It's very supernatural. There's ghosts. There's like there's basically a room that's kind of like the Warrens occult museum with haunted objects. Cause I was kind of like, knowing that it's based on the book series, and I was thinking, okay, it's going to be a little more like mysteries with like a Scooby-Doo spooky flavor, but there's going to be like humans behind a lot of stuff. They just went in full on like boogeyman land with that show. And it's really cool to see them dive into all that stuff.
So it sounds like we should be watching it.
Yeah. I feel like they're getting into a really good groove with that too. The first season's like 18 episodes long, and but it's good. It's definitely something I would recommend if you like, especially with Supernatural ending its run recently. I think it kind of deals with a lot of similar supernatural mysteries as that show did, hence the name. So
okay, Tamika, Derek has given you plenty of time. he stalled and gave us some Riverdale.
I appreciated him bringing up Riverdale because, like I said, we were on a break, Riverdale and we were on a break. Mm-hmm. And, now we're not on a break. Mm-hmm. But, no, I appreciate that, Derek.
Brian, have we lost you?
No,
yes.
But I'm gonna rope you back in, Brian. I'm gonna rope you back in. How, you ask? Because I completely forgot, which is probably not a good sign. I've been keeping up with Clarice.
Oh, how is that? Hold the question.
This is what you call roping me back in?
No. Listen, if you are into corporate conspiracies mixed with your early 90s horror thriller, then Brian, Clarice is for you.
I am not.
Okay, no.
That
was a good selling point, though.
I tried. I did try.
Are you still? But here's the thing, though. Are you still watching it, or did you drop off?
No, I'm still here.
I knew it.
I'm still here.
You're dedicated. Nice. Yeah, if you start it, you usually finish it.
I gotta keep going. I gotta see this play out because I don't like to ever ding a show for not giving me what I wanted, because that's not very fair, Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try not to do that here. I'm going to try not to ding this show because it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
But what if that thing you wanted was an entertaining experience and it didn't give you that?
Well, for one, I thought Clarice would be. I like the way Jodie Foster portrays her in The Silence of the Lambs, and I don't like the depiction of Clarice on this show. I don't feel anything. I don't connect with her. I'm having a hard time like being invested in every episode. And I understand the show is trying its best to unpack what happened to her. I mentioned the first episode, the weird editing, and I liked it in the first episode. But now that we're like 4 more episodes down the road, it's very distracting, and I don't like it. I'd rather, instead of see like visually what's going on in her mind, I'd rather her just tell her own story, showing, and not a whole lot of telling. And I think there needs to be a good balance of the two. And I don't see the balance. And then there's the corporate conspiracy thing, and I'm like, what? No, I kind of want this show to be a little more horror based.
Well, because like whenever I think about Clarice and Hannibal Lecter and like the whole Silence of the Lambs universe, I think about corporate espionage.
Yeah. I hope that's not a spoiler for anyone watching the show. I apologize because now I feel like I spoiled stuff.
This is kind of like Bates Motel, and where they focused on like the subplot with like the drug dealers in town. And I know there are people that love Bates Motel. Derek, you might be one of them, but I was just like, I want more hotel. I want less drug dealers.
Hey, that was only seasons 2 and 3.
I mean, I dropped out. I'm sorry.
So you want less of the drug dealers and more Baton?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's that was when A&E had their own like horror universe that they were growing with, like The Returned, and they were at one point we're gonna potentially do a Let the Right One In show, which is now happening elsewhere. But yeah, I admired their efforts to do some original, or I guess new takes on original horror properties. But it wasn't for everyone.
I liked the way Bates Motel ended. I liked that was when they catch up to the movie. I was like, whoa, okay, I like this.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't make it.
I would advise that maybe if you're not feeling the drug dealing, it's not gonna course correct itself there. But the last season, I would give that a shot.
Okay.
Yeah. But Clarice, we're going to keep going because I was wrong. There's not just 5 episodes. So we're going to keep writing.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, just
we're going to keep writing this out. Thursdays.
Okay.
Thursdays.
Well, we'll check back in with you a while from now, maybe. It depends on our episode schedule. But, I'm going to talk about it because we're going to do a bit of promoting for it, that April is Indie Horror Month. This is something that Heather Wixson has spearheaded in past years, and she's bringing it back. So we have Indie Horror Month at Daily Dead in April, and all April we're not only going to have exclusive content on dailydead.com, which will include things like interviews, retrospectives, all kinds of special features, but then also Heather will be doing something special for Corpse Club as well. And we'll keep that a secret for now. But like I said, keep an eye out for that. Head over to dailydead.com, like I said, for more details. We had an announcement post today. And and with that, this episode of Corpse Club comes to an end. I do want to mention, as I have in past episodes, I do think it's really important. Like I said, we have a lot of fun doing this, but there's also a lot of serious stuff going on in the world. I think it's important to, like I said, to acknowledge that and just remind everybody, please do keep up with the latest news regarding vaccines in your local local area. There are different rules for different states, for different countries. There's different eligibility rules. For example, like I said, in New York, they've opened it for pre-existing conditions. There are a lot of pre-existing conditions that would allow you to qualify. Sometimes, you may not have an appointment that's available within, 5 miles. Maybe you have to drive out a few hours. For some people, that may be worth it. That's what I did with my family. And I would also recommend talk to your friends, talk to your family members, make sure they have the latest info. I can't tell you how many of my friends were like, oh, I can't get a vaccine, and they just realized that they, didn't go to the right website, or they didn't fill out the right details, or they didn't search far enough out, and they really did need it because they have pre-existing conditions. So like I said, please do keep up with that. We wish the best for you and your friends and your family, and hope that we all get out of this lockdown very quickly. We want to thank everybody for their continued support. It's the reason we continue what we're doing here on both Corpse Club and Daily Dead. To learn more about Corpse Club and how you can sign up to become a Corpse Club member, head over to corpseclub.com. If you want to hear us do an episode where we talk about Event Horizon with Scott, only Scott, he could just talk about Event Horizon for 2 hours. Sorry? If you want to pay for it, we'll figure out a way to make it happen. You may not want to do it, but we'll figure out a way to make it happen. Event Horizon commentary. We could do commentary 2 times in a row. It'll be the one time when we watch it, and then how sometimes like when you practice a song, you need to do it a second time, and then you're like, oh, we're really getting in the groove here. 2 commentaries for Event Horizon. It's an option. Anyway.
Yeah, that does remind me. I haven't told Scott about what our next bonus commentary is going to be. So surprise, Scott.
Oh.
So head over to corpseclub.com. You can also check out our full back catalog of episodes. You can hear our episode 12 about Event Horizon. It seems like it's so far away. Don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Every rating and review really helps. You can also find us on Google Play, SoundCloud, and all of your favorite podcast providers. I think Google Play at this point is gone. I think it's going to be YouTube Music, so you can find us there too. If you want to get in touch, you can reach out anytime. We're at contact@corpseclub.com. On Twitter, we're at Daily Dead News. We're at Corpse Club, and we're on Instagram and Facebook under Corpse Club as well. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, stay scary.